I will at least give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this. They acknowledged their screw up with Dirk Cutter. Now, that said, it may have been too late in terms of Jameis Winston when they made that decision, but at least they came to their senses and they moved on from them. And at least if you're going to sit there and try to truly determine what your next steps are on the Jameis Winston experience, you went out and got a guy, a proven quarterback whisperer, a proven commodity, as an NFL head coach, and Bruce Arians to work with him. Like, this is how it should be done. If you're going to try and find out if your guy can be the guy for your franchise, then you better do what you can to help him. He's got some offensive skill talent around him that certainly helps, but obviously Bruce Arians is a significant upgrade over Dirk Cutter as the head football coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it was one of those things you're like, okay, is this going to work or not? And you're really going to see what happens here. And the early results weren't promising. His team was 2-4 at the bye, weren't looking good. Then they came back off the bye. They lost their next two. Like, once you go to 2-6, like, you're in a really, really bad spot. But then they kind of pulled it together in this kind of yo-yo of a season, won 5 of their next 6. So you're sitting with 2 weeks left. You're at 7-7, and not everything looks lost. And then you have the season-ending losses to Houston and Atlanta. So it's like a roller coaster, down and then up and then down again. And boy, oh boy, if that doesn't perfectly epitomize the whole Jameis Winston experience in 2019 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't know what the hell does. What I do know, though, is that maybe in part because this team could not run the ball consistently well with Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones, is that they had to go to the air a lot. And this team was a hell of a lot of fun this year. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans had great seasons. Godwin in particular, the former third-round pick from Penn State, had a monstrous year, all-pro type of performance this year. On the defensive side of the ball, you get your bargain in the offseason in Shaq Barrett. You bring him in, and all he does is go on to have 19.5 sacks. They had Shaq Barrett destroying people and doing work. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans doing work. And then the majesty and the resplendent awesomeness that was Jameis Winston. What if I told you that a quarterback could have 30 touchdowns plus and 30 interceptions in the same season? What if I told you? My God, it was fascinating. Jameis Winston was one of those buckle up bitches, you don't know what the hell's going to happen type of thrill ride experiences. 1 week he's out there, he's lighting up the Rams. But then he's throwing pick sixes. Then the next week, he's throwing pick sixes. He's throwing pick sixes left. He's throwing pick sixes right. It's like he'll throw a pick. And then he'll have 2 spectacular throws for big touchdowns to Godwin and Mike Evans. And then here he comes back with another back-breaking pick. And whether it was good or whether it was bad, at least for somebody on the outside looking in as a non-Bucs fan, every single moment of it was entertaining and enthralling and captivating. And I found myself wanting more. More! More! My God. It was like inject straight into veins. Jameis Winston all the days. At least, if you're not going to be great, at least be fun and entertaining. And this Bucs team in 2019 was a lot of fun. And Jameis Winston specifically had about as much of a fun season as a quarterback as I can recall seeing. And I've seen great performances from quarterbacks throughout the years. But in terms of sheer entertainment value, on the edge of your seat, you must watch this because you don't know what's going to happen. It could be a train wreck, and you are dying to see it. This was the most fascinating quarterback season that I've ever seen. Jameis Winston threw for over 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, and with a couple of weeks left to go in the season, you're looking at it and you're saying, you know what, this son of a gun could get to 30 interceptions. He could have the 30-30 season. And you found yourself secretly rooting for it and craving it and wanting it and feeling it in your loins, desiring it. And then when it happened, you nutted. And of all ways, what better way to end this season to epitomize the 2019 Tampa Bay Buccaneers than throwing a pick six in overtime to lose to the Falcons? It's like JAMEIS said, I'm not losing my shot at history, bro. This was so much fun. So, unfortunately, for the Buccaneers, now looking ahead to the offseason, what's the decision on Jameis Winston? It's not so easy as to just say, well, you got to pay him long term because the guy just threw 30 picks in a season. Do you really want to risk devoting big money to him for the next 4, 5, 6 years? But then you also say this guy was a former number 1 overall pick. He just had a season where our team couldn't really run the ball. Defense struggled at times. And he still threw for over 5,000 yards and 33 touchdowns. There haven't been a whole lot of 5,000-yard passing seasons in the history of the NFL. Jameis Winston has one of them. Like, there is still obviously talent there. Even though he's 5 years into his career, how much better is he really going to get? You kind of see what he is, and that's what he is. But there's enough there to tantalize you and tease you into thinking that he could be better and he can be more. So that's the number 1 key decision here for the Buccaneers. Do they franchise tag him? They certainly have the cap space, over $90 million. They can franchise tag him if they want. Do they sign him to a long-term extension? Like, does Bruce Arians really want that? Do the Buccaneers really want that? Do Buccaneers fans really want it? I don't know, but I certainly do. Give him a lifetime contract, for all I care. God, it would be magnificent. Could you imagine Jameis Winston at 40 with a beer belly, throwing 40 picks and 20 touchdowns? My God, that would be captivating. Never happened, but well, a guy can dream. But it's a significant decision ahead, more importantly, for this Buccaneers team. When you look at other things that happened in their 2019 draft class, Devin White had some missed tackles and missed assignments, but I still think he's a stud. And he had plenty of moments where he played like a stud. And I think he's only going to get better as time goes along. I think Sean Murphy-Bunting, the second-round pick, could be very good. I think Jamel Dean could be good. He had a couple of INTs. Mike Edwards, kind of the jury's still out. Matt Gay, the rookie kicker, had an up-and-down kind of rookie year. So hopefully for the Bucs, he can kind of level out and be better and more consistent in year number 2. When you look at this offseason, not only do you have the decision with Jameis Winston, but you have the decision on Shaq Barrett. Are you going to go all in and pay him? Then you've got Jason Pierre-Paul is also a free agent. Are you going to go and pay him? Are you going to bring back Ndamukong Suh? Are you going to bring back Bo Allen? You know, these types of guys you got to make decisions on whether you're going to bring them back or not. It's tough because you're the Bucs. You got a ton of cap space, but you've got talent. But you also finished 7-9. You got a quarterback that threw for 5,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns, but he also threw for 30 interceptions, oftentimes back-breaking interceptions, numerous pick sixes, including the one to close out your damn season. Oh. And it's not helpful to the Bucs because if they're thinking really about replacing Jameis Winston, you know, who are you going to bring in to replace him? Is there going to be a veteran you're going to trade for or acquire in free agency that's going to be much better than Jameis in terms of the high end of what he can do? And you're picking 14th overall. Is that really going to get you a future franchise quarterback in this draft? You know, so it almost seems like they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Now, in terms of this team and what they need to look to do in this offseason in terms of the draft, they have their pick at 14 round 1. Then you got picks 1 each in rounds 2 through 6. I think the first and most important thing they got to do is they got to improve that offensive line. Got to improve that offensive line. Got to improve that offensive tackle. Got to get better on the interior at guard. Because I think that contributes a lot to the problems that they have with being able to run the football. And if you can protect Jameis a little bit better, maybe he won't feel so rushed sometimes, so forced to sit there and have to gamble and roll the dice, and he won't make maybe quite so many bad decisions. You can balance out your offense better, and you can kind of protect them a little bit, not put them in those types of situations. Then I look at the defense, and even if they retain a Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, I still think they use some depth on that defensive line. If they let a Jason Pierre-Paul go and re-sign Shaq Barrett, or they keep Paul and they let go of Barrett, obviously defensive end is going to be an even bigger need. Then I look at the secondary, and I know over the past few drafts they have addressed that position a lot, specifically corner. But I'm not really that thrilled with their current group of safety, so I think they could certainly use some upgrades there. In general, I would say they could use better on a tight end, but they've got Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard. Is just Bruce Arians doesn't like using his tight ends, which is just so weird. Use the talent you have, not the talent that you want, the talent that you have to the best of their capabilities. You could maybe argue running back, but I still like Ronald Jones. Maybe I'm being stubborn here, but bottom line is I don't really care about anything else with the Buccaneers other than I want more Jameis Winston in 2020. I want the yards. I want the touchdowns. I want the picks. I want the roller coaster life. I want that Jameis Winston experience as much as I can possibly get it.